Today we got too many more questions about Webtoon and more creators so we can hear from and have some advice from, some experience from the ones that already started published on Webtoon that have experience to share with us, some tips and tricks also. How can you use your Webtoon for printing, or how you can market it, or how can you build your own story? There's too many questions running on every creator mind. So today we are going to hear more voices about this stuff. Today we got Shelby. Hello there, Shelby.
Hello.
And Claudia. Hello there,
Hello.
Claudia. Shelby is a writer and Claudia is the artist for the Star Stream
Star
story.
Stream.
Oh, okay. And Burns is the artist and creator for
Hi.
what I See You, right? For the Webtoon I
I'm
See
also
You.
a graphic designer.
Hello there. Well, first, it's going to be a round table questions. First, we're heading to the unscripted question part. First question is, what's your secret origin?
Secret origin. Secret
Every
origin.
superhero or a character in on the comics universe have a secret origin. So what's your secret origin?
Oh, okay. Secret origin. That's the term. That's right. Okay. Well, I was born and raised in a small town. I'm autistic. So I was diagnosed with autism at a young age, and to be quite frank, I didn't know what I wanted to do for a long time as a passion. Um, but when I was like 6 years old, I wanted to create stories about this superhero that I made, really silly name called Laser Man. But I was 6 years old. But anyway, trying to get to the point. Years later, I forgot about it, and when I want to say 20 years old, 2016, about like 5 years ago, I was looking through my old drawings and I found Laser Man, and I thought to myself, I want to tackle this. I want to retouch my childhood, and I went through many drafts of this, and then, oh, we got a comment.
Yeah,
Awesome.
just Lamsey saying, "Hey guys, hello there, just."
Yeah, sorry, I got sidetracked. And yeah, I know I got passionate about Starstream, and then it didn't really go much of anywhere until I met Claudia. And Claudia helped push me to make a webtoon. She was so adamant about it, and that's how it really went. And and outside of a webtoon artist, I'm also a jiu-jitsu martial artist and a jiu-jitsu instructor. So yeah, that's what I do primarily outside of being a webtoon creator.
That's cool. Just thanks to saying again, here, loving the stream. Thank you. Trying to make webtoon of my own. Well, I assure you, you're going to have too many tips watching this video and the previous ones too. So we have heading to Claudia.
Yes.
What's your secret origins, Claudia?
My secret origin was born and raised in South Texas, Edinburgh, and I've been drawing all my life. I barely remember like pre-K. That's where I remember drawing because one boy liked it, and I don't know, ever since I started drawing. But like through the years, I like to doodle all my life. I didn't know what I wanted, and I'm sorry, my dog's whining, and
Okay.
like I didn't know if I should want to be an artist or a musician because I love playing guitar or a piano and all that. That was like a mixed feelings on which way I wanted my life to turn. And then I ended up being pastry chef because I love baking also. And then after that, I moved to Austin, became a pastry chef, and I decided I wanted to change my career when ever since I met Shelby and became an artist, full-time artist.
So you was a chef before you started working as an artist.
Yes.
That's cool. That's cool. I do like dreamers actually. Yeah.
I
So
was planning to make my own bakery. It was either make my own bakery or make a comic book. Was one or the other. But during
that's
during
cool.
COVID times, yeah, the bakery's out.
What about you, Burns? What's your secret origins?
Ever since I was a kid, I've always loved drawing, and um, I sort of think that just drawing things and impressing people wasn't enough. I feel like my art could do more a bit of a purpose. So ever since I learned of webtoon, I think I could make a difference and give my art a purpose and tell a story. Yeah, that's just it.
Hmm. Sure, there's a point.
Don't know this.
Well, that's cool. So every character in comics does use weapons to fight crime or maybe fight superheroes. So what's your weapons for writing stories, Shelby?
Oh my, weapons for writing stories. Like, are we talking about literal weapons, or are we talking about like figurative, like anything? Just like anything goes.
Anything, maybe books you like to read or some software you'd like to type your fast stories while you are in subs or something like this.
Well, for me, I feel like my greatest weapon as a writer, my greatest tool, weapon, everything is. I know it sounds kind of weird, but I feel like the best thing about being a writer, and the best way to be a writer is to have emotion and empathy. And what I mean for that is, if you're very numb, I feel like sometimes writing a story, especially one that's meant to be emotional, won't just come out the way that you want it. So I feel like by having empathy and by having a good heart, and by having just a good pure heart, and not just writing it when you're not in a good mental state, it'll take it out of you. And my greatest strength as a writer is, to me, writing characters. Like, character is like my greatest strength right there. I love writing fully fleshed characters with a lot of depth and a lot of complexity. And that's like my favorite thing about a lot of comics in general, is the characters. I always go back to reading comics and manga for the characters. I mean, yes, the plot's great too, but character is what I always come back to. And to me, Starstream is primarily focused on character. And to me, that's my greatest weapon right there, is characterization. Characterization is my favorite thing about creating Starstream. Like, every chapter, I was thinking about, okay, how do I challenge my?
How do you do this? Do you have files for each character, or some questions you do for every character you do, or something like this?
Actually, yeah. Yes, I do. Claudia and we actually have a binder. I have it somewhere, but I have a binder with all the main characters of Starstream, with their likes, their dislikes, their height, their age, their weight, their birth dates. Every single little miniature thing about them, from what their insecurities are, flaws, their strengths, and that's just the thing that I feel like helps me a lot as a writer, is knowing who my characters are, knowing what challenges them, and pushing forward with that. That's my greatest strength right there, is characterization.
I like how deep and rich how you sing. This is the same way I think with my story too, because it gives depth to the story, to the universe you're creating, to the characters, so you can feel there's two different characters with two different mindsets and two different habits are talking to each other. Like, it's not like you're putting two different shapes with the same mindset talking together. I do like this, what you just said. It's amazing. So what about you, Claudia? Your weapons to make art?
My weapon is, well, I love drawing armor. That was my best strength of making armor. It makes sense because sometimes, like, one of my pet peeves, of course, I love enjoying watching anime and see the sexy armor. I like that, but like sometimes it doesn't make sense for a real life body, like for a female armor. And I used to be in a cosplay and make my own more like makes sense. So
Thank you,
mostly
Just Lamsey, for the comment. Well, really, this is to you, Shelby. Well, really have to give more depth. Never thought about that. Well, about the armors, I just said, and the weapons. I meant, what do you use to make art? Like
oh
the softwares or the graphic tablets,
well
standard papers, pencils. What do you use?
I used digital art actually. I started with the intro because I was new at it, and now I got a hang of it. Ever since Christmas, Shelby bought me Welcome One, and I know how much it cost. That it was new.
It was a secret Christmas gift. Yeah, it cost me $400, and I'm very proud of how much I put into that.
And I told him not to. I told him not to buy it. I wanted to buy it my own time.
It's very realistic.
Well, actually, the whole world is listening to our broadcast right now. There's no one.
But yeah, like,
that's
yes,
cool.
he does.
Well, that's amazing, actually.
So yeah, I'm using more on the webcam. Webcam One. That's my upgrade version, and I have like I don't know what I have the PC. I build my own PC, but I don't know what I have in my mind.
You have
to make it more.
Ryzen 5. Yeah, you have a Ryzen 5 with a pretty decent graphics card. Well, actually, no, you don't have a graphics card yet. That's right.
Not yet.
Not yet. My bad.
Because the whole fluctuation going on right now.
And you have like 16 gigs of RAM?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So you have a pretty good amount. Yeah.
Are you a gamer?
Yes.
What kind of games? We are going to head to the games question after this one.
Well,
so
obviously, if you see the background.
Actually, no, we are going to talk about this.
Well, mostly
what about you, Burns?
Go ahead, Burns.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Claudia.
Oh, it's okay. I think for me, it was the great inspiration for my story is a great mystery. I love mystery movies and also an action one. So every time that I think about a mystery, it gives me inspiration to keep moving forward for my story and my art. It's a great motivation for me to see it to the end, to know to reveal the truth and the mysteries. That's all.
That's fun. So, for the gamers part, well, this is an art podcast, so we are going to cheat our way through and talk about games for a moment. Are you a gamer, Shelby?
That's like asking if I like pizza. Of course, I'm a gamer. Yes, I am.
What kind of games do you play?
Oof. Okay, so I have, and you might be a little bit jealous of me, but I have a PS5 and an Xbox Series S. So I have both of those.
Get up!
Yeah. I'm not a scalper, so don't worry. But
you got lucky.
I got very, very lucky. But yes, I play a lot of video games, primarily a lot of like action adventure games and a lot of fighting games. Primarily fighting games and a lot of like action adventure and RPGs. I'm not a big first-person shooter fan. I was never good at those. Honestly, like
exactly the same man right here.
Yeah, I don't hate them. I just was never good at them. But yeah, stuff like that. You can't get me to play an online match in any competitive FPS at all. Like I'm just, no matter how good the frame rate is, no matter what the skill level is, it's just but if you tell me to play a fighting game and learn a fighting game, I'll do my best to learn that fighting game. And also when it comes to RPGs, I love open world RPGs or JRPGs. Like those, that's like my favorite genre right there.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I'm going to ask you a question about the RPG game. Are you the good guy or the bad guy?
Oh man. Well, back when I was young, I used to play World of Warcraft, and I let's be honest, I always had one alliance and one horde character, so I always like switched between them both, and then man, but to be quite frank, I always play as the good guy first because like that's just naturally how I feel more inclined. But then the curious part of me is like, I want to play the bad guy. And then and then just be like, I want to do some evil crap, and then, and then just like yeah, because my dark curiosity just kind of gets the best of me, and I'm like, this is what I want to do, but my curious part.
I feel you.
Exactly.
I know what you're saying. That's how the same way I think. Yeah, I do love making bad choices actually in the RPG games. So, what about you, Claudia?
Well, man, I have so many choices. I used to be like a fighting person video game, but since everybody's like getting better and I don't have time no more, so I'm more on RPG puzzle games and first person shooting a little bit, not too much. But I used to play a lot of Halo back in the day. That's how it all started. Or Sonic.
So, what's the games you are playing?
Now I'm focusing on Mass Effect. Never played that game, and I've been forced
I know
to.
Mass Effect.
I've been forced to play that game right now. If not, I had to kick out the house.
So,
That's the
are you
rules.
the good guy or the bad guy?
I'm a good guy. Very bitch. Very witchy, witchy attitude.
I think sometimes maybe I and Shelby slip through the dark side of each game while we're picking the right choices.
A little bit, not too much.
You.
What about you, Bert? Do you play video games?
I'm not much of a person, but here in the Philippines, mobile game quite famous. So I usually play just Call of Duty
Hello there,
and
Marina.
Mobile Legends. I only play when I only play mobile games when my friend asks me to. I mean, it's just our way of social in a pandemic right now, and I just usually just play when my when my boyfriend asks me to. But yeah, it's just the only game I play. Not really much of a game per game person.
So you don't play that much?
And not that much.
Uh-huh.
But horror games, it's really for me. I even watch horror movies like 12 a.m. the morning.
We're going to ask about what's your first superhero, Shelby?
Like first superhero, my very first superhero was Spider-Man, and honestly, he's my first and still my favorite. Like I grew up with the '90s animated series back when that first aired. Like that's what I grew up on, and then later on, as I grew older, I read Ultimate Spider-Man by Brian Michael Bendis and that whole universe, and that was my first superhero. And then I was also into DC at the time. I read some Superman comics and stuff like that, but I was primarily more into Marvel comics. I started with Spider-Man. The first comics I actually picked up were X-Men comics, though. X-Men comics were the very first ones that I picked up. I was very obsessed with Spider-Man and X-Men growing up, especially since I grew up with the animated shows, and like that's what I obsessed over. And to me, Spider-Man's still my favorite. He's, to me, the most inspirational yet most relatable character in terms of superheroes that I can think of. So he's my first and still my best.
That's cool. Yeah. So what about you, Claudia?
It's the same thing as his story. A girl watching animation Spider-Man series, and X-Men, and Iron Man, and who's the
Just
other
pick
time?
one. Pick one. Pick one.
Well, okay, first, like it's exactly the same thing with him, but like it's still Spider-Man in the end. You probably saw me drinking this mug.
I have my
Well, you
Star
just proved your point, actually. What
Yeah,
about
like
you, Burns? Oh, yeah, okay. Please
it's
continue.
still my favorite. There you go.
Oh, it does have an important
For
message
me,
about
I
responsibility, so many
think
people do love him.
and
Yeah. Please continue, Burns.
for me, my very first hero is Captain America. I mean, his character was really amazing, and it was so, and it the movie, it has the action and mystery, and I really love it. And ever since I watched it, I've been watching it until now. I mean, I binge watched it for many times. I really love Captain America.
movie.
That's awesome. Well, uh, please, our audience, feel free to ask any questions about webtoons, about tips and tricks. If you'd like to ask questions to Shelby, Claudia, and Burns about how do you work, how do you build storage, how can they find time to schedule, we are going to know much about this. Feel free to post your comments and your questions on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitch. So, first one we are going to ask is, how did you start your career?
Who are you asking first?
Shelby, it's starting. Shelby, Claudia's, and Burns.
All right, I'll start then. Okay, so oh my goodness, this is a really great story. Actually, it's very interesting how this all started. Okay, so basically, Claudia and I basically became good friends last year in March, and it started because she was looking for a friend to play video games with, and she asked me if she wanted to play online on the Switch, and I was like, okay, great. She wanted to play Kirby's Dream Course for the Super Nintendo, like online, and she really made me rage quit, but in a friendly way, not in a too aggressive. But she was streaming one time. She was Twitch streaming one time, doing some artwork, and I was talking with her while she was streaming, and she asked me what I was doing, and I said, "Oh, I'm writing." And she asked, "Oh, well, what are you writing?" And I said, "Oh, it's this story called Starstream that I've been working on for years." And then she asked me about the story that she asked me about what Starstream's about, and I told her what Starstream is about. She stopped everything that she was doing. She turned off her stream. She just said, "Okay, let's get started on this. I'm really fascinated." So I caught her interest just by the premise of the story, and I never thought that would ever happen, and it just really blew my mind that because I've been very protective over this story for years, because actually someone years ago tried to steal it, and ever since that happened, I just kept it like completely safe. And Claudia was the only person that I told the story to, and she was like, "All right, we got to do this." And yeah, so that's how it started.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
And then I pressure him to like, we could push this to Webtoon if you want to. You were like, no, I don't want nobody to steal it. It's like, how nobody steal it? It's on Webtoon. People will know it's you.
That is, yeah, that was true. I was just so afraid at the time. I was really, really afraid, to be quite honest.
Then one day, I just decided to draw the whole Webtoon without you noticing until I finished the sketch.
Yeah,
and surprised you.
Thanks to you, Claudia. So this work is going to see light. Well,
What?
that's cool. Thanks to you, this story sees light because of you. So you encouraged. That's what encouraged Shelby. So it start posting it on Webtoon.
I wouldn't be here without Claudia, quite frankly. So
And at the
Yeah.
time, I was all into Webtoon because I was like reading. And I actually was planning to make my own Webtoon. Like it was involved steampunk. No. Yeah,
Is it
steampunk
released
adventure.
yet?
No, it's not. I put on hold. I still figuring out the story background.
Hmm.
Mhm. Well, that's cool. Steampunk stories is amazing to know. So, how did you start as an artist?
How I
We,
started
we
the
already
artist.
we already know the story about how did you start as an artist, but we'd like to know more deep story about how did you start your art
The Star
career,
Stream?
your art life.
Well, that's just kind of weird for me because I didn't know if I want to be an artist or not. Like I said before, because I wanted to be a pastry chef artist, so I could
Mm.
decorate all of that. But since like I want to change my career something different, and as I just been finding my own art style all this time to consider as my artist, until like when he brought up the story, I was like maybe I could find my artist style until I discover like okay, this is my art style. I feel comfortable with this style. I think ever since last year I became more an artist than ever.
I became
That's
more of a
cool.
writer than ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
You do like this journey to find your own art style.
Yes.
Well, what about you, Bernd? How did you
I
start
first
your
started the story when I
yeah?
my comic. Yeah, I started building my story when I was in junior high school, and I always have this friend that I keep telling my stories with, and she recommended me that wow, your story is great. Maybe you could try making up story of your own in Webtoon. So I was just like, what is Webtoon? I don't know what Webtoon back then, and she explained to me, and I actually fell in love with it, and I started reading and Webtoon, and it's just like, oh, it's amazing. And there was what do you call this before, the canvas section where you can publish free, and I was like, wow, I can publish my own webtoon. So I started building up, and but unfortunately my art style before was not really that good as my art style is now. It was a little bit cranky, and my anatomy is out of place, my proportion is wrong. So I waited, and I'm glad I waited. Um, my art style kind of improved now. And for years I just I just published just now, but because of personal things, I haven't posted another episode yet. Yeah, that's it. That's the whole story.
Well, I do like the way everyone had someone to encourage him and push him to start making and achieving his own dreams. That's why you have everyone who is listening to us. You have to surround yourself with five friends, five dreamers friends, the ones that want the best of you. This is how you're going to be a better than yesterday. Otherwise, you're going to lose track of yourself and you're going to turn into. I don't want to say a villain because me and Shelby are villains in our game, so I don't want to say villains.
I like to be evil.
No, we always, as creators of Webtoon and comic creators, we are dictated to deadlines. Deadlines are something that all the creators or the industry worldwide are very scared of, respect it, and have something for it. So, if you are working with an editor outside, it's going to be like he's chasing you about deadlines and wants you to finish before the deadline ends. So, this for you, Shelby, before everyone else. So, how do you schedule your time between your job, your family, your friends, and writing and editing your story with Claudia?
I'll tell you something. It's definitely not easy. No, it's not, and it's probably the hardest thing about my day is balancing work, family, friends, and Starstream like all in one, because Claudia knows how much I work throughout the week, and because like sometimes I'll work at 5:30 in the morning and then won't be done until 9 p.m. Sometimes.
You've been not busy.
Yeah, and like they're like those are like some days where I like really work a lot, and thankfully on weekends I have time off. To where I have free time. Sundays I don't work, so today I'm completely free. I don't work at all today. But I usually work with Claudia late at night. So like we'll work like from like 11 p.m. sometimes midnight to like 4 a.m. working on Starstream, and Saturdays too. Saturdays I really don't work on Saturdays either, so I have a majority of the day to spend time with Claudia.
How do you find time to sleep, man?
We don't.
So I take naps throughout the day. So the way it works is that like I don't stay at the workplace that I work at the entire time. I go home, go back, go home, go back, go home, go back, constantly, because as a jiu-jitsu instructor, I teach multiple lessons throughout the day. So I get the time to be like, okay, I have a little bit of time to go back, rest. Time to go back, rest. And then I'll sleep in, and I'll be like, okay, like, yeah, I got enough energy for the rest of the day. And coffee's my greatest friend. Yeah, coffee is my greatest friend. Caffeine is like the best friend I've ever had in my life. It's like, it's definitely it's like the yellow sun is to Superman for me. But yeah, and yeah, so balancing it out, and then I spend time with friends about twice a week. So about that, so I try to have a good social life in balance with Starstream and all that stuff. But I'm not gonna lie, it does take a toll on me after a while. And when it comes to deadlines, on the topic of deadlines, Claudia and we don't really set a deadline until like a month after we're like in the development process of a chapter, because we don't want to feel pressured immediately to where everything feels rushed, because we don't want every chapter to feel like it's rushed. It doesn't feel like it's our best work. We want every chapter to feel like our best work. So when we initially start a chapter, we don't set a deadline. We always say that the release date is to be determined until a month later after we are done, we are in development of that chapter. So like about a month, we'll set a deadline, because we want to make sure that all of our ducks are in a row first before we set a deadline. And then boom, yeah, deadline, and then just like the chapters come out great as a result of us taking our time first and then pushing the deadline later to make sure that all the final touches are the best that they can be.
That's cool. That's cool. I do like the way you arrange your whole week, but I don't like the way you don't find time to sleep or rest. Actually, it's very, very hard on you or every creator. So, what about you, Claudia?
Well, I quit my job because the whole incident. They want me. The incident was I have concussion during work, and they didn't let me. Yeah, it didn't let me take a break or take a week off. They want me to continue working while I have a concussion, so I quit. And I have a lot of money saved, so you could say I kind of spend slowly without spending too much. I survive, like basically surviving through my savings. So I have all day as a full-time artist. There's times I had to do other things like errands, and since I clean the whole house, it's kind of hard keep it clean, top notch. But sometimes I get so into the art, like I had to time limit my own art because I need to take a break, because I don't take breaks, but I had to. Sometimes Shelby messaged me, take a break. I was like, how you know? I know you. Just take a break.
Yeah, I keep telling her, like, I'm like, just stop pushing yourself hard. And this is coming from someone who pushes myself hard, so I'm kind of a hypocrite. But yes.
And then there's times I was still working over past my limit. I was like, stop, take a break, go sleep. I was like, no, I can do it, I can finish. No, go sleep. Like, all the time.
Coming from Shelby, actually, this is hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is hard. And that's
But-
because every chapter I have to do multiple drafts of every chapter to make sure, because I don't like to go with my first draft of every chapter. I do like a rewrite and then another rewrite for like a final draft. Yeah.
And then sometimes, like when I'm drawing, it's like I got a better idea and I have to start over again to make it a little better at it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the problem. Or
Yeah.
we change our minds at the last minute.
You seem like a fighter, Claudia. Just
I am.
keep determined on what you want, and you will reach it in the end.
Yeah, that's mostly I am. But I do sleep for like a good 6 hours. Like, no, I'm like Shelby. I understand with him. He's, I don't know how he do it. I can't do it.
Willpower.
Oh, we got a Green Lantern here.
I actually have a Green Lantern ring somewhere, but yeah.
And I have a sapphire ring somewhere around my room.
So, what about you, Bern? How's your workflow?
I'm a student and I also do part-time jobs and while making the comics. So after I released my first episode, my work just I'm working as a graphic designer and a freelancer in Fiverr. So I had a lot of clients that time when I first started my first episode. So everything just stuck up in my schoolwork. So yeah. But I usually work on my comics at night because it was more peaceful for me. And
How
I
many
can
hours do you work per day on your comic?
Like 3 to 4 hours a day on night, maybe like 12 to 3 a.m. or 12 to 3 a.m. and then I sleep. Then I sleep in the morning like 5 hours because I can sleep not very long because I need to cook also for my family.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
That's all.
How many hours do you draw, Claudia?
If I say, you'll be surprised.
Yeah, feel free.
16 hours.
16 hours drawing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to be surprised because I'm the same thing right here. Well, this is a dreamer, guys. This is a dreamer you should learn from. If you do want to be a comic artist, you should sit and work hard, draw each day, never stop looking at the watch, stop looking at the clock, stop looking at any distractions, and keep yourself drawing. Draw each day, draw gesture, learn from other artists, level up your work so you can be a better artist. This is how you can be an artist, an illustrator, a comic artist. So this is a great advice we have learned from you, Claudia. So thanks to you.
Yeah, don't look at your phone because once you look at your phone, you get distracted after that. I have so many happens.
Every time.
But when you message me, mostly Tom Shelby, that's when I get distracted. And you say take a break, and I do.
This woman.
We got a question from our audience here. Please feel free, our audience, to send us your questions. We got a question from you. The question is, can you print your Webtoon on comic version?
Print?
Yeah.
Actually, yes, you can. I haven't done it myself, but I was at a local convention recently where another Webtoon artist physically shared their Webtoon, and I actually have it right here. This is a physical copy of a Webtoon that I picked up called Rad Mad Venture. Pretty cartoony artwork, but it's a really good story. I like the art style. It's very it reminds me of Penny and Stocking or Powerpuff Girls, something like that I would watch on Cartoon Network. But yeah, like you can definitely print it out. You just need to find a good publishing company that'll happily do it, and they'll do it very, very simply. Like like this. It can be a webtoon. But whenever, you got to keep in mind that whenever you're doing a webtoon, since you're reading up and down, you got to change the format to where you're reading left and right. So that's one thing to keep in mind.
This is the same question going to ask to Claudia. So when you are going to make the comic you're working on with Shelby, if you're going to make it a print, Claudia, how are you going to make it available in a print platform?
We actually talked about it.
Yeah, I have talked about it. I actually will need to. I have a printer, but I need to buy ink, color ink, to do that. But we haven't talked more about it to print it out yet, because I feel like I want to redraw from the beginning.
We're gonna do a remastered edition. Yes.
Yeah, we're planning to do that when the Star Stream's finished.
Yeah, we're gonna go back and do a complete remaster from the very beginning, so that the art is top notch from the get go, and the story itself.
We already talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Bern? Are you going to make a printed version of your webtoon?
I'm not really sure about that. I make my.
You do have Comic Cons on Philippines, so I think you got too many readers on Philippines for comics and webtoons.
I only have one episode, and I'm still improving, so I'm not thinking about printed ones yet. Maybe in the future, if I see my comics improve, maybe I should consider making a printed one.
Mm-hmm. On that topic, really quick before we change, the reason why we wanted to do a remastered version as a print version, why we talked about it, is because if it's the same thing as the webtoon, people would just watch it for free on Webtoon, and I want people to have an incentive to pick up a physical version. And I'm like, I think to myself, Claudia and I talked about it like a while back. I was like, we should do a remastered version with better artwork, a more polished artwork, so that people have an incentive to buy a physical version, and they can get a different experience than reading it on Webtoon, than just besides like the tangibility and of holding it in your hand.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fine. Well, feel free, our audience, to send us your questions about how you adjust, how have you manage your own workflow, and how are you planning to print your own webtoon. Send us your answers. Feel free to share with us your thoughts, as we are going to the next question, is which many creators and the ones that are going to release their own webtoons asking, is layouts that important?
Layouts?
Layouts, yeah. Thumbnails, layouts, sketches.
I passed this one to Claudia because I think she would answer this one better than I could.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first, because you're writing first to get an understanding. We talked about, we do make layers, but we're more like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, and tell him how I sketch it out, due to the story. And sometimes like maybe make her face look more angry or more sad. That's the most, like, we could talk about it. So it is important.
Mm-hmm. We constantly have discussions about lighting or shading or facial expressions about characters. I always keep telling Claudia, is like, as long as it makes sense to the reader, then I'm good with it. Like, to me, I always think of the reader in mind. If it doesn't make sense to the reader, it's not good at all. So like, I'm always in service of the reader. I'm always in service of the audience, because that's who's reading it. That's who it's for. I don't want, yes, I make Starstream because it makes me happy, but at the same time, I want to make something that is pleasurable to everybody. Mm-hmm. Also, I don't want to come off as pretentious and be like, oh, this is something that I like doing. But yeah. So no. So like, we layouts are very important, and we always try to have something that's very eye-catching in terms of a thumbnail, the very first. We always try to get people's attention by the very first panel, like that, like something very eye-catching, just by catching them by the very first panel, just like boom, okay, I'm in. Or you're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That continues very, very smoothly from the last chapter, or something like that. We always focus super hard on making sure that the very first panel, the very first moment of every chapter sets the mood, captures the audience, and making sure that we always have a good thumbnail, like something always very eye-catching. And that's so yes, layouts are important.
So, what about you, Bert?
For me, yes, layers are important. I mean, it what gives the looks and feels for the viewers, for the readers. Um, is important for me. Hi.
Andrew, are you there?
That's it.
Oh,
Ah,
I think
did you hear what? So,
I think we killed Andrew, guys.
I'm done.
Uh-oh.
Hi.
Hello,
Sorry,
Burns.
did you hear that? Oh, hi. I'm
Hi,
actually
hi.
I'm very
You're doing great. You are
I'm
doing
listening to
great.
the camera.
I guess
You're,
we have technical issues right now.
I guess he should be coming back
Yeah.
any second, as his internet probably just gave out and was just like hasta la bye bye. But
And
yeah.
we were worried about that. One of us is gonna cut off.
Yeah, no, I was worried about that too. But yeah, no.
So what
I was
about?
he should be coming back. It's okay. I'm not gonna leave. I'm still staying here, and like I hang out with Claudia every single day, and yeah. So I mean, this isn't that much different. So yeah, and Claudia and I we checked all of our equipment right before we started. So like we were making sure that okay, everything is good, the camera's good, the audio's good. So
The lighting.
the lighting, yeah, like et cetera, like all that stuff. So yeah, but yeah, no, it's very nice to meet you, Burns. You're really, really cool so far. Hmm.
You're doing
Yeah.
great.
I'm
Yeah, you're doing
not
really, really good.
professional yet. I'm still improving. Thank you.
To be honest, Claudia and I are still improving, and we've been working on Starstream for a year. So that's no matter what, you're still gonna be improving.
Amazing.
Yeah, I believe in you. You're gonna do great. Like just keep pushing, keep doing it, and yeah. Man, what happened to Andrew? Where do you go? Let me message
He's
him.
supposed to be the star.
Yeah, he's the star of the show.
Wow.
Now we're stealing his show.
Take us love this stream
Yep.
all for us.
I'm the captain now. Yeah. But yeah, no.
So where are
So
you from?
Claudia, go
I'm
first.
quite curious.
We're from
Where are you
Texas.
from?
Texas.
In the United
Everything's
States.
bigger in Texas.
And
Yeah, I'm
Same thing with-
from the same area. I also live in Texas. I live in the United States. And Claudia and I, we used to live in the same city, but she moved far away. Still in the same state, but a little far away, about 5 hours away.
I visited you last 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know you visited me 2 weeks ago for the 1-year anniversary of Starstream.
Mhm.
So yeah, like we decided to hang out to celebrate for the 1-year anniversary of our webtoon, and it was really, really great. And yeah, but we do try to hang out and try to see each other like a few times a year. So then what happened to Andrew? I messaged. Oh, I think his internet did go out because I messaged him and it hasn't sent through. Oh, uh-oh. Dame, 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 oh, dame,
what's gonna happen?
I guess bad timing.
It's okay. We're just too cool. But yeah.
Shelby, read Chuck Tingle.
Oh my god. Okay.
No. No.
It's Chuck Tingle. Chuck Tingle is an erotic novel writer.
We like to joke around every night to get us entertained while we're doing our work.
Mm.
Or like what we do normally, like we play along to get while our imagination comes up, and that's how we get our inspiration. Also, we have to get entertain each other.
Well, oh yeah, we always do. Like the other night, I was so like there was one night, it was like pretty recent, where I was just so mentally and physically drained from the day, and I just dealt with. Oh, you guys are carrying the show. That's from Christian Olvera. You guys are carrying the show. I actually went to school with that guy. Yeah, you guys are carrying the show. But very, very kind of you, Christian. I used to call him Slim. His nickname was Slim. Everyone called him Slim because
Slim Shady.
Well, because he was a toothpick. But yeah, very, very kind and wholesome toothpick. But yeah, I always wanted to hang out with him. I always loved hanging out with him. He was probably one of the coolest guys I ever hung out with. But anyway, yeah, no, like there was one night where I was physically and mentally drained, and I just had like a lot of stuff that just made me angry that day. Love you guys, Lamau. I love you too.
Love you. I don't know who you are, but I love you.
Yeah, I love you, man. So yeah.
If he loves you, then I love you too.
I love you. You love me. We're a happy family. But
And as you're saying, Shelby.
yeah, no, I was like mad one day, and I think you know which day I was talking about. I was just
I know.
Oh, he's coming back. We have a wild Andrew coming right back in. Here comes a new challenger.
Guys, it's internet network. My internet network sucks. So I'm so sorry for our audience. I'm so sorry for you too.
It's okay. I threw a crazy bachelor party while you were gone. It was pretty awesome. You know, like
we also read the erotic Chuck Tingle, the famous one.
Like the craziest.
That's cool.
The Mardi Gras just happening at my house right now. Yeah.
So we were saying about is the layout that important? So is the layout that important, Burns? While you are working on your workflow.
She did explain it though.
Okay. No problem. No need to repeat it. It's for our audience. Okay, so the next part is what have shaped you? What influences have shaped your writing and your thoughts, Shelby?
All right, so it's kind of funny because when I first started Starstream, it was drastically different than what it is now. It was an entirely different tone, an entirely different genre almost than what it is now. And at the time when I wrote Starstream back in 2016, when I first started doing it, I was just kind of just spitballing to see what would stick. And it started off more as like an action comedy series, like something that you would like watch like something that you watch that would be like more of like a spoof or something. But over time, I wanted to tell something a bit more cathartic and a bit more emotional, and I wanted to tell something that felt more human. And 2017, I did a rewrite that drastically changed the tone and drastically made this change the genre. And I was very inspired by Man, a lot. I was very inspired by many things, but mainly like a lot of like the 90s Marvel comics that I used to read, and I was very inspired by Hayao Miyazaki films and other anime films like Your Name, Weathering with You, very fantasy, like very intimate fantasy stories that touch on the human emotion very, very well. And I was also a huge fan of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films with Tobey Maguire. That was a huge inspiration for this comic, actually. That one, I was very hugely inspired by the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films and Studio Ghibli and films by Makoto Shinkai like Your Name, Weathering with You, and it really helped inspire me to create a very slow-paced, introspective drama that just happened to be about a superhero. Because Starstream on the Webtoon is not labeled under action adventure like how most superhero webtoons are. It's one of the very few, actually I think it was like the first popular webtoon that was labeled under drama superhero. And reason being is because it focuses more on drama and it focuses more on the human element more than saving the world or saving the universe. Like, I kind of wanted to deviate from that trope and tell something a bit more smaller scaled and personal, rather than telling another end of the world apocalyptic event storyline, which has been done millions of times before, which I had no problem with, but I just wanted something entirely different and more intimate and more personal with Starstream. Yeah, because Starstream is not about saving the world, it's about saving yourself emotionally. And yeah.
That's cool.
Mm.
That's cool. That's cool. How you got some reference there to build your souls, build your minds. I do like this. So, what have shaped and influenced your art style, your thoughts? You already told us you are writing your own webtoon about steampunk. So, what have influenced your story writing skills and your art style,
Well,
Claudia?
I have a wild imagination, and I always like to make up my story. It's kind of funny how he started talking about Laserman. I have my own superhero called Miss Amazing, which is a Mary Sue. I made it since middle school, and I actually wanted to pick it up again, but it's hard to figure out how to make a superhero while she's crazy OP. She was a OP in my opinion,
Three
and
words,
then like
man.
yeah, and then I switch it to this romance. I have this wild dream, and I'm in, but I turn into as a D&D character when I'm playing with my friends. It was like a whole loving someone. Like it was a, I haven't done it yet, but I'm gonna use it for D&D. And
Yeah, but what books or what have you read? What do you watch to influence
it's
you
mostly
to
influenced.
draw or make stories?
It's funny because my only inspiration was Spider-Man, actually, the storytelling wise. I don't have any inspiration when it comes to story. I have no preference. I just love story in general, like something like Spider-Man or like mostly comic books. Actually, more inspired by comic book wise. The whole Spider-Man, it's all about Spider-Man for me. All the old school Marvel Stan Lee himself. And not only that, even Disney movies. I love the whole story too. Even though it's very cliche now, but I just love story in general, no matter what.
Hmm. That's fine. What about you, Burns?
Um,
What
the
stories or
the
movies?
inspiration for my comic is my story was different from before the plot, but I know it's just kind of changed over time until I finally complete the whole plot. It was basically inspired by the movie Zootopia. It's an animation movie.
Love
I
that
really
movie.
love it. It's and the story just
What's the name again? I
also
can't hear it quite
a
well.
lot of K dramas. Ah, the Zootopia.
Zootopia.
It's
Yeah.
an animation movie. if you watch
I
it.
know Zootopia. Yeah,
Yeah, Zootopia. I'm sorry for the yeah.
well,
And
it's a great
a lot
movie
of K
actually.
dramas.
Mhm.
I was thinking of if I make it just about a police story, it's gonna be a little bit boring since it was very common. So I think I should just add a little kick it. So I add a little ghost conflict. Yeah, that's basically what influenced my story.
That's cool. So this question, too many audience do love to ask this question. How do they start setting their own story? How do they start setting the best art style to fit their story? So, how do you start setting your own webtoon from scratch? Before you start making a webtoon account, start launching your own webtoon. You shall be.
Well, okay, all right, great. Well, what I did was I planned like a whole outline of what the story is. So before Claudia and we even had scripts for episodes, we planned out what the beginning's gonna be, what the middle's gonna have, and what the end's gonna have. So we know like the 3-act structure perfectly well, and then with each chapter we get to fill out like we can fill in all the blank spaces and how to get from act 1 to act 2 and then from act 2 to act 3. So we started with an outline, and then after the outline we were like, okay, now we gotta develop who these characters are. Juke Skylark, the main character, Darian Crow, the antagonist, the love interest, Emily Gray, the other supporting character, Min Jun Song. So like, yeah, like, all those characters, we fleshed them out first. We had to understand who these characters are, and the first thing that I ask myself whenever I write the characters is, what do they want? Because to make a character interesting, you have to give them a goal. You have to make them active. A character without a goal is not a character at all, in my opinion. Yeah, so a character, I have to write the character's motivations, their flaws, their personalities after the outline, and then we get to more of the fun part after that with Claudia doing the designs for the concept art of the characters and the world and all that stuff. And that's probably one of our favorite parts about working on it, is doing concept art.
Do you use the questions about how, why, and when to create the characters?
Yes,
How,
we do.
why,
How, why, and when?
oh yes, I always do. I always, like, that's probably, it's funny, like, because I always ask myself, how did this character get so and so? When did this character? And that was a constant thing that Claudia and I always ask about these characters. How did this character end up this way? When did this happen? Why did this happen? And why are they like this? And the more you ask these questions, the more you get to flesh out the characters, the more you get to really add some meat on their bones and really get to make them feel more human. And I want them to feel human, and asking a lot of questions, and the more questions that you ask, even if they're very minimal, really add a lot to the character. And that's what Claudia and I always focus on, is making the characters feel as human as possible, from the protagonist to the antagonist. And that's one thing that I focus on, and we have that structure. And then when we have the structure, when we have characters in the setting, because we always do that, we do the setting also, the timeline of like the events, then we get to making the webtoon, then we get to making the chapters, and everything becomes more seamless from then on, and so forth.
That's cool. So, what can you share with us about this, Claudia?
Like the concept art.
Concept art, yeah. How do you start setting your own webtoon?
Well, first of all, yes, you need to start doing concept art before you post on Webtoon, because that was my first mistake, because I was new at it. And the map, it was also important, the map where all the character was living also. That was also we didn't do it. That's what we did it right away. when
How
we
is
started.
map? You just mentioned a very important thing. How is the map very important for a story?
For making where the scene makes sense? Like for example, if you one of our stories is all about the mall because the mall is more like the hangout place and have everything, and all the character you see there live in the city. So that's what's most important. Where the character would have been living, where like which is the poor area, which is the wealth area, which is the forest and the park. And that's what we forgot to do in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we polished that up as soon as possible last year. We're like, okay, we got to figure out where all these characters live, and so that whenever they do meet up or whenever they're going somewhere, it makes sense time-wise also. So
I think that's one day I called you up, like, oh my god, we forgot to make map before the start posting the webtoon,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I went down to visit him, and we talked about it.
Yeah, so we have a character that we have the antagonist lives, Darian lives in the rich side, like she lives like in the rich side of the city. Jude lives in a studio apartment. Song lives in an apartment nearby his. Emily lives in the slumps, like in the very dirty, poor side of town. So we have like them living in different parts of the city.
Cool. That's amazing.
Mhm.
That's so professional, actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, what about you, Burns? How do you start setting your own webtoon before launching it?
First, I started with my script. I planned write episodes by section, and I also write a little bit of the beginning and the conflict and the ending, so I know where I need to go, so I wouldn't get lost in the process of making it. So I planned the story out in just in a sketch word, I guess, and then I write the story and proceed to line art. I do line art first for all the pages before I do the coloring and the rendering, so I can
Mhm.
finish faster
Mhm.
and do the webtoon and I publish it.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you for sharing this with us. Well, so we got another question about a very important topic to every creator out there. How can you build your own imagination? Many writers, many artists get stuck at some point while they are building their own universe, building their own characters, building their own events. They reach a point where they don't know how to complete, make a process with the ongoing events, or maybe where from the start, even if they got some story maybe about insects or aliens, just a major topic. When they are trying to translate and make this topic into an art or a story, they always fail because they don't have enough imagination to start making their own story. So we are going to learn more about this from you, Shelby.
Okay, so how do I get imagination? Okay, so it's a good question. It is a really great question because for me, I don't like to plagiarize also, and I don't like to come off as like someone who rips off anybody else. So I always try to make sure that everything comes off genuine and comes off like it was genuinely written from me, and that only Shelby can write that and nobody else could. And for me, Claudia and I are kind of opposites on this. Claudia gets imagination from, sitting down and thinking about it and being still. I cannot stand still. I cannot be still. I have to constantly be moving, constantly be exercising, being active. And whenever I'm exercising, it helps my brain flow. And whenever I'm moving, it keeps my brain flowing. If I stay still, it almost feels like my brain is on pause. And actually, there was with the newest chapter, I actually, like, for a while the reason why it took a little while was because I was having writer's block. And that never happens to me. It never ever happens to me. Usually it just comes out of my brain very, very well. But this one time I just had writer's block. And I think the reason why I had writer's block was not because I had an issue with the story, but because things in life were just stressing me out and it was getting in the way of my creative process. Whenever I work on Starstream, I have to make sure that I'm in a mentally good state before I write it at all, because if I'm not in a mentally good state and I start writing, it's just not going to be my best work.
And that's where I came in with the whole making jokes. After making jokes, after like wild imagination, really dumb, that doesn't make sense, but makes sense at the same time. That's where our creative comes in. Like, all right, we got this.
Yeah.
Motivation or
Like,
creativity.
when she starts breaking the tension and starts making me feel better and starts making me laugh, it starts helping my like creative flow much better. And I'm a very hyper and social person. So like whenever I get hyper and social, I'm like, okay, I got an idea for this and this and this and this, and whoa, like I go crazy. Like when I was writing chapter 5, when we finished chapter 5, I was like a giddy little kid because I was so proud of my work and I was so proud of how it turned out that I turned into like a 10-year-old. And Claudia and I, like one night when we finished it, we're like, oh my god! Yeah, I think I broke the mic. But yeah, so like for me, I have to be in a good state of mind. I have to make sure that whenever I'm working on Starstream, that my real world problems are completely out of my head, or at least in the void, just like boom, like just gone. And I have to make sure that I'm in a good, like, I'm not tired, I'm not physically and mentally drained. I have to have for me, what really keeps me going is a good support is, Claudia. Claudia really helps push me to be better, and I believe I help Claudia to be better as well. And we constantly push each other and motivate each other. And I feel like our bond as creators is like symbiotic. We both need each other to just function at 100%.
That's amazing.
It is true though. Like there's times I have like artist block and I had to call him to say, hey, help me out with this certain scene. I can't picture it. And as he comes in, I was like, oh, I was picturing this way and all that. Like, oh yeah, why didn't thought of that? But have you heard him? Like I sit still and just let my imagination go, and that's how I am every day. But there's times as an artist block, it's hard too. I need to get my motivation also because life also.
She's like my second.
We both need each other no matter what. With the yin yang.
Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah. I like the sport, the yin yang part you two are doing. Actually, it makes sense. So, what about you, Burns? How do you build imagination?
Usually when I don't know what to do next with my story, I just lay back in bed and try to sleep. Then the ideas just came out of nowhere, and I'm ready to do things again. Or sometimes I just watch a good movie and gain inspiration from it, and then I
You
start
do something
writing
else,
again,
so you
start writing.
can distract your mind from the problems or things you're doing.
Like sometimes when I feel like I don't want to draw, but I want to draw. I don't know if it's art block, but sometimes I feel like so weird. And sometimes I just, because of my problem from my personal life, I just can't keep going on. And but sometimes my sister kind of just jumps into me, like when I can draw and I can try. She was just like bothering me, and that bothersome just feels kind of, she's like a distraction for me from being so focused on something that I can keep doing. It's really hard to explain for me. Sorry for my English.
I want to add before we change the topic, but if you want to use the imagination that you want, that you have a wire block or artist block, talk to your friend. I would say talk to a friend and just go crazy. Just doesn't make sense. Just go use your wild imagination. And I know it's not going to work, but maybe after that crazy idea, after crazy idea, maybe you find a creative idea.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's what we
yeah,
do.
Yeah, I agree with this, and I would like to add something to this advice. If you are having something that's blocking your head from starting to imagining events or characters or universes or whatever you want to create, just start reading. Start reading. You don't have to read. Don't have to read comic books. Maybe you can start reading novels or other books about science fictions, history. Those are going to help you to have more rich background so you can roll on and go on with your own story. So before we are going to ask the last two questions, feel free, our audience, to send us your questions and tell us about what you think about your story, how are you going to do it, and if you do have an artist, feel free to share thoughts with him or her. We got a group on Facebook called Artist Jobs and Showcase. This group is dictated for writers and artists to share their works and know each other so they can start working on projects and find jobs too. So feel free to check the link. The link will be on the YouTube description box. So, are there characters you are dying to add to your story?
Characters that we're dying to add to our story. Okay. Because so we do have more characters in our webtoon that we haven't introduced yet, that really help to add to the themes of the story and to help the development of our main characters. I'm trying to dance around this without spoiling anything also. So like that's the thing, I feel like a sniper is on me right now.
We'll just tell one that we show already, Miranda.
Oh, well, I mean, he's talking about new characters.
I'm talking about the new characters. You do want to, you can't wait to get those characters involved into your story. You wish you can do this right now or in next week episode, but it's going to take about maybe 20 weeks or maybe 15 weeks or so to add those characters to your story.
Yeah, we have several actually. They're all like minor characters, but they all make the scenes that we have played out so interesting. And we do have plans
later seasons.
We have a sequel that we're planning, and we do have more villains that we want to introduce that are really, really cool. So in the second season, and we're very excited about that plot line. We're very excited about that storyline. It's really, really good. And so I'm very, very excited to get to that. That's going to take a while though, but I'm excited to get to the second season and being like, here's our new villain, here's these new characters, here's the new plot, all that stuff.
Here's the new problems.
New problems, new conflict, yeah.
Does Claudia help you with the story?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. She is my second brain. And Claudia is constantly my second opinion. And I come up with a rough draft and she's like, all right, let's polish this up and make a better draft. And it's constantly this thing where we both help each other. She helps polish my ideas and I help polish her art. So again, it kind of goes back to that both needing each other type of a thing. And yes, so she does help me in the creative process of creating the story. And as a result, I also help her push herself more as an artist as well. So again, it's that constant it's that constant need of pushing each other to help each other as writers and as artists.
And we have this rules. The rule is say it anyways if we know it's stupid.
Yeah, like we always say your stupidest, worst idea possible. Just say it, even if we're not gonna do it, just say it.
Yes,
Like,
because sometimes we're thinking
That's
the
cool.
same.
Yeah. Constantly.
Well,
Yeah.
we would like to know more about tips and tricks for upcoming Webtoon creators or coming Webtoon warriors who are going to join Webtoon with stories and art. So we're going to first to ask Burns about this. What advice, tip can you give to upcoming Webtoon creators?
I don't know. Since I'm still starting myself, all I can say for them is just do it. You never know what tomorrow. Maybe when just start it. Well, that's all I can say.
Yeah,
I have
I agree with
one.
this.
I
Yeah.
have one.
Yeah.
Save your backgrounds. It's time consuming.
Well,
Once
me as
you
an
draw
artist,
it,
me
save
as an
it.
artist, I approve this. This tip, this advice is very amazing advice. You are going to thank yourself later. If you are going to save backgrounds, you can use them, and the readers, maybe not a lot of them is going to notice you are using the background more over and over again.
Yes, that
Yeah.
is a time-consuming background.
What about you, Shelby?
Have faith in what you're making. That's all it is. Like, have faith in what you're making, believe in it, and just go for it. If you believe in it, and if you believe that what you're putting out there is good, then keep going with it. It may not be the best. It may not be the Watchmen or the Citizen Kane of Webtoon, but if you believe in it, like, then just go with it. Like, just and put your best foot forward. Put your best foot forward, no matter what, and don't focus about being like, oh, don't focus on like, oh, I have to outdo this other author. Don't try to focus on trying to be as popular as Lore Olympus or Unordinary. All these other like very popular ones. Focus on what you want to make. Focus on something that makes not only just you happy, but you feel like other people would be interested in reading, because that's what's extremely important. And don't let anybody talk you out of it. Like, just believe in what you're making. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, it's too hard, oh, it's too difficult, it's too challenging for you to do, you may not make it. Don't listen to that. Just do it, because a lot of the greatest dreamers out there have been told the same exact thing constantly throughout their life. Stan Lee was told that Spider-Man was like a terrible idea, but he still published it. He still did it. And people flocked to it because he believed in it and he put his best foot forward. And Claudia and I, we believe in Starstream 100%, and we are not giving up on it because her and I believe that it will get somewhere. It will be popular. We put 100% into every single panel, every single line, every single chapter, because we have this feeling that this is going to be something incredibly special. And I think to myself, if someone wanted to steal it years ago, then it's pretty special. But yeah, and so
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Many thanks for the advice. Many thanks for the advice. It's so helpful for all of us. So many thanks again to you, Shelby, Claudia, Burns. We enjoyed our time listening to your workflow, listening to the answers you already shared, all of your experience with us. So many thanks again. Many thanks for our audience for watching us. Feel free to join us in the next week interview with other creators and other artists from around the world. So many thanks. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.